Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. I swear to God, if that's my uniform, this whole house burns down tonight. I whispered it to myself, gripping the steering wheel as I sat parked outside the cul-de-sac party. The house was lit up like a damn nightclub. Fake spider webs, flashing lights, speakers blasting early 2000s pop hits. I had been gone 6 months, and this is what I came back to. But it was the photo on my buddy's phone that really set me off. He texted me from inside the party, saying, "Dude, is this your uniform?" Under it, a shot of my wife, Lindsay, wearing my real military gear as a Halloween costume. Except she had butchered it. Medals hanging crooked, shirt tied above her stomach, dog tags swinging like jewelry, combat boots replaced with heels, and her arm, wrapped tight around a guy I had never seen before. Mid-40s, muscles from a can, fake tan, smug as hell. His hand was on her hip like he owned it. That was my life. My story, my service, turned into a damn joke at a suburban theme party. I got out of the car. No one noticed me as I stepped through the gate. Everyone was laughing, dancing, chugging. And there she was, dead center of it all. My wife, drinking wine out of a plastic skull cup, laughing like a high schooler. That uniform clinging to her like a prop. Someone shouted, "Lindsay, you win best costume." She curtsied, then said the words that cut deeper than any bullet ever could. "Oh, come on. It is just fabric. Not like he is even using it." Everyone laughed. I froze. Right there, under that orange-tinted porch light, I felt it. The war was no longer overseas. It had just moved home. And the only question that mattered now was, what do you do when the person you are fighting for turns out to be the one stabbing you in the back? Wait, if this story gave you chills or made you think twice about trust, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button to support the channel, and subscribe if you never want to miss another jaw-dropping tale. We drop new stories every week that'll leave you speechless. To everyone who's already subscribed, sending you heartfelt love and thanks. Join the family, because here, every story hits different. Now, let's dive back into the story. The sound of her laugh still echoes sometimes. Not the sweet one, the cruel one. The one she let out right after mocking my uniform, our uniform, because it was never just cloth to me. It carried sweat, blood, silence, and screams. It carried brothers who never came back. And now, it carried red wine and cheap perfume. She was standing under a string of pumpkin lights, hand in Brent's back pocket, when she saw me. Her eyes froze, then flicked away. She did not flinch, did not run, did not cry. She smirked. "Babe," she said, walking toward me like she had not just detonated my soul. "You were not supposed to be back until Tuesday." "Surprise," I said, my voice low, barely holding. "You should have told me," she said lightly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I would have cleaned up." Brent appeared behind her, towering, wide-shouldered. "You must be the husband," he said, offering a hand. I stared at it, then looked at Lindsay. Her eyes were daring me. "Nice costume," I said finally. "Oh, come on, Caleb," she said, sipping her drink. "Do not be dramatic." It was a joke. Everyone thought it was funny. "That uniform has been on dead men." The words fell out, heavy. The people near us stopped dancing, stopped smiling. She shrugged. "Well, maybe you should not have left it in the attic." That was her excuse. I turned around and walked out. Not because I was weak, but because I was done giving her pieces of myself she never deserved. And that night, as I sat alone in a diner 20 miles away with a cold coffee and no appetite, I opened my phone and created a new folder. It was titled Tribunal. Before the lies, before the costume, before Brent's smug face, I was a man with a mission and a family. My name is Sergeant Caleb Morrow, 38, infantry, 3 tours, 2 medals I never talk about, 1 son, 1 home, and, until recently, 1 wife. We met at a community fundraiser. She said I had kind eyes. I told her I was boring and predictable. She laughed and kissed me that night. 3 years later, we were married under a white tent with sparklers and summer rain. And for a long time, I believed it. The dream. The normal life. I bought her a house, built a swing set in the yard, made her French toast every Sunday. But she changed after the second deployment. Or maybe she was always this way, and I was just too loyal to see it. She started staying out later, started going to the gym more, started rolling her eyes when I talked about the guys overseas. Then came the silence, the coldness, the distance. And like every soldier trained to stay calm under fire, I ignored it, explained it away, said she was tired, overwhelmed, just going through something. But the truth? She was already slipping into someone else's bed while I was cleaning sand out of my boots. And I should have seen it sooner. Now, every morning, I run the timeline backwards in my head. Where I was, where she was, who she was texting, what I was fighting for, and what I was really losing. Because the war never ended. It just changed uniforms. And now, it is my turn to fight back. With no weapons, no bullets, just truth. And that is always the deadliest thing in the room. 2 days after the party, I stayed quiet. Not because I was unsure, but because I needed to hear her lie to my face. The morning after, she acted like nothing had happened. Eggs on the stove, coffee brewing. She hummed to herself like a wife in a toothpaste commercial. I sat at the kitchen table, watched her float around the room in yoga pants and a loose hoodie. Party was fun, she said casually, not even looking at me. You were the star of the show, I replied. She smiled without shame. What can I say? People love me. I studied her face. Not a flicker of guilt, just vanity, entitlement. Later that night, I stayed up, pretended to be asleep on the couch while she went into the kitchen with her phone. She always thought the microwave vent fan would drown out her voice. It did not. He came back early, she whispered. Pause. No, I handled it. He did not say anything. Another pause. Relax, Brent. He is clueless. We just need to stay low until after my birthday. After that, I will handle it. Handle it? I recorded everything. I sat in the dark with my phone in my hand, watching her shadow on the wall. And in that moment, I realized something brutal. She was not afraid of me finding out. She expected me to forgive her. She thought my silence meant weakness. But she was wrong. My silence was war drums. She just did not hear them yet. I spent the next week pretending to laugh at her jokes, pretending to believe her fake apologies, pretending that I still looked at her the same way. I did not. What I looked at now was a stranger wearing my wife's skin. Every hug felt like a trick. Every smile felt like venom. And every word from her mouth was just white noise covering deeper betrayal. I found myself replaying the good years. Early mornings with coffee and jokes, late nights with movies and holding hands. Had any of it been real? I asked her once years ago, why me? She said, because you make me feel safe. Now I saw the truth. I made her feel secure, which is not the same thing. I paid the bills. I cleaned the garage. I showed up to PDA meetings in uniform. I was the responsible, predictable husband who would never question a thing. And that predictability became the perfect cover for her double life. While I was in Kandahar sweating through desert armor, she was in hotels sweating under Brent. While I dodged mortar rounds, she dodged guilt. I checked the family photo frames. Her smile looked different now. Staged. Stiff. I opened our anniversary album. The note inside said, to the man who would never hurt me. I closed it fast. Not because of pain, but because of disgust. The version of me she loved did not exist. She never wanted me. She wanted the life I built. And once I realized that, the pain stopped. Now I just felt cold. Not broken. Just empty. And sometimes, that is scarier. Because when a man stops feeling pain, it means he is ready to act. It started with the iPad. We bought it together years ago, during one of those tax-free weekends. She said she needed it for event planning. She never knew I had synced it to our iCloud. Late one night, I opened it. What I saw made my blood slow to a crawl. Messages between her and Brent. Hundreds of them. Late-night sexts. Photos. Videos. Screenshots of me, sleeping, making breakfast, captioned with things like, "Look at this idiot. Still thinks I am loyal." Or worse, "Can't wait till his next deployment. Then we'll have the bed all to ourselves." I scrolled until I could not anymore. One message hit me like a brick. "Brent, you should wear his uniform again. It fits you better anyway." Lindsay, haha. He's not even a real man anymore. Just a worn-out puppet. I dropped the iPad. My hands were shaking. My breath was shallow. But I did not cry. I screenshot everything. Created a folder on a flash drive. Labeled it, "Final Evidence." Then I sat in silence. Complete silence. Because what do you do when the person you trusted most becomes your worst enemy? You do what soldiers are trained to do. Observe. Analyze. Plan. Execute. And now, it was execution time. Not with fists. Not with rage. With truth. And the truth has no mercy. From the outside, our house still looked like the picture of American normalcy. White fence. Hanging plants. A flag fluttering out front. But inside, it was a war zone in slow motion. Lindsay floated through rooms like a daytime soap actress, playing wife of the year. She cooked. She cleaned. She even started calling me babe again. "Babe, I was thinking we should do Thanksgiving at our place this year," she said one morning, stirring her overpriced vegan smoothie. I watched her carefully, studied the slight twitch in her left brow when she lied. I knew her tells now, better than ever. Her voice went half a note higher. She smiled too wide. And when she hugged me, there was a delay. One beat too late. "That sounds great," I said flatly, sipping my coffee. Behind me, the flash drive sat in the junk drawer, buried under old batteries and spare keys. Every word she said became a line of dialogue in a play I had already rewritten. She thought I was still in Act 1. She did not know I was already planning the finale. I set my phone on the counter, screen down. Recording. Brent said he might be out of town for a while. She mentioned casually, eyes focused on her blender. "Oh," I replied, careful not to twitch. "Why?" "Work stuff. You know how busy he is. Plus, I think he is getting serious about his new gym project. Something high-end." She had a way of dressing her lies and half-truths. I knew that project. I had already hacked into his business site. It was a scam built on stolen identities and fake testimonials. I had receipts, photos, voicemails. The house was no longer a home. It was a carefully constructed stage. And I was the actor who had just memorized everyone else's lines. Brent Whitaker, age 45, divorced twice, claims to be a fitness entrepreneur, whatever that means. I spent 2 hours digging through his online life. Half his photos were filtered selfies at the gym. The other half were motivational quotes like, "You cannot outwork a bad mindset," posted between thirst traps. But the real dirt came from a burner account buried on a message board for defrauded clients. I paid Brent $1,200 for a 12-week program and never got a single response. He promised to help my teen son train for football. Disappeared after the first week. Took the money. And the best one? Ladies, watch yourselves. Brent is a serial liar. He preys on married women. He stole from my sister and slept with her while her husband was deployed. I copied everything. The more I learned, the less angry I felt, and the more focused I became. He was not just sleeping with my wife. He was targeting people like me. Predictable husbands. Structured routines. Loyalty used as blinders. That night, I sat at the dining table, lights low, silence heavy. I stared at a printed photo of him and Lindsay at the Halloween party. She had her head on his chest. He was grinning like he won. Like I was nothing but a speed bump. "You picked the wrong soldier to underestimate," I muttered. My phone buzzed. A text from an old friend from base, Jax. "Back stateside. Grab a beer sometime." I typed back, "Soon. But first, I need a favor." He replied with a thumbs up. Jax was good with tech, good with cameras, and good at staying off the radar. I was no longer looking for closure. I was building a case. and Brent Whitaker had just been drafted into a game he had no training for. The first week of November, Lindsay started planning her birthday party like it was the Oscars. "I want it big this year," she said, flipping through catalogs at the kitchen table. "Like, statement level big. A night people talk about." I smiled faintly. "Makes sense. You deserve it." That was the last honest thing I said all week. She went on about themes, elegant gothic with moody florals, and who she wanted to invite. Her influencer friends, her business clients, the yoga moms, even a local DJ, and one more name. "I might invite Brent," she said casually, flipping to a photo of chandeliers. I paused. "Oh, he helped me a lot this year," she said, as if I was not in the room. "Support-wise. You should definitely invite him," I said. She smiled, not even catching the venom buried under my tone. Over the next few days, I made myself useful. I offered to help with logistics, venue booking, guest list management, even the sound setup. She thought I was re-engaging. She did not know I was setting the stage. The venue was a private event hall with tall windows and a central projector. I made sure of that. I asked the manager about the AV system myself. "You want to run a video presentation?" he asked. "Oh yes," I said. "A very personal one." Back at home, I created a contact list. Labeled it Witnesses. It included her parents, her best friend Casey, who once told me, "You are too good for her." A few mutuals, and Dana Whitaker, Brent's wife. Yes, Brent was married too. And Dana had no idea what was coming. But she would soon. Because this party, it was not just a celebration. It was a setup. And every balloon, every wine glass, every flower arrangement, just decorations for deception. The uniform sat folded in my closet like it had a heartbeat. Pressed, cleaned, untouched since the last deployment. The same one Lindsay turned into a Halloween joke. Now I looked at it not with pain, but with purpose. There was something sacred about it. The fabric still carried dust from my last tour. The patches were hand-sewn. The medals were earned, not bought. Every thread was a memory. Every stain told a story. It deserved more than storage. It deserved justice. I brought it out, buttoned it up on the hanger, and laid it on the guest bed. I stared at it like I was prepping for battle. Because in a way I was. I was not wearing it for symbolism. I was wearing it for truth. At the birthday party, it would be my armor and my statement. "You wanted a costume, Lindsay? I will show you what wearing this uniform really means." Downstairs, I heard her on the phone again. "Brent, I cannot wait for you to see the party setup. You are going to love it." She walked past the guest room, saw me holding the uniform, and paused. "Are you seriously bringing that to my party?" she asked, laughing. "Maybe," I said without blinking. Thought I would honor the occasion. She raised an eyebrow. "You are not about to get weird on me, are you?" "No," I said calmly. "I am just dressing for the role I have always had." She rolled her eyes and walked away, mumbling something about drama. She had no idea. The uniform would not just be decoration. It would be a verdict. Late one night, while she was asleep with her phone charging in the bathroom, I remembered something. Lindsay used to keep a journal, not a paper diary, but a digital one. A Google document. She started it during our first year of marriage. She said it helped her process things emotionally. She thought I never knew about it. But I remembered the name. Growth Seasons. I logged into her old laptop using the same password she used for everything. Our son's birthday. It opened immediately. There it was. A document over 40 pages long. Updated weekly. Still active. I started reading. The entries started out simple. "Caleb came home tired today. I wish he would talk more." Okay, fair enough. But then the entries turned sharper. "He is boring. Predictable. Emotionally hollow. I feel like a mother to a giant child." And eventually, they became cruel. I imagine what it would feel like to have Brent wrap his arms around me while Caleb packs for deployment. Is that wrong? I do not care. Another entry. "I sometimes wonder how long I could cheat before he noticed." Part of me wants him to find out, just to see if he is capable of feeling anything anymore. My jaw clenched. This was not just infidelity. This was strategic emotional erosion. She wanted to feel like a victim, even while playing the villain. She made up my apathy to justify her affair. She wrote entire fantasy scenarios about Brent comforting her, while my soldier husband fades into the background. I saved the document. All of it. Screenshots. Word copy. Metadata. This was not just journal rambling. This was motive. And in a few weeks, the entire guest list would hear her thoughts, straight from her own pen. It was buried deep in her gym bag, zipped into the inner pocket behind a protein bar wrapper and a broken hair tie. A second phone. The screen was cracked. The casing cheap, but it lit up the moment I held it. No passcode. Only 2 apps were active, WhatsApp and Signal. That was not a fitness phone. That was a burner. And it told me everything. Messages to Brent. Voice notes. Deleted images that were still recoverable in storage. A video clip, 3 minutes long. Hotel room. Wine on the nightstand. Lindsay's laugh echoing as she filmed herself in lingerie. I had to pause the video before my blood pressure broke through the ceiling. I exported it all. And then came the real gem. A note saved in her phone. Labeled, Backup Plan. It read, if things ever blow up, deny everything. Say it was emotional, not physical. Cry. Say I felt lonely. If that fails, threaten to take the house and the kid. He will fold. No remorse. Just strategy. She thought she could script the fallout the way she scripts her social media posts. She thought she could gaslight me into forgiving her, just so she could keep the image of the perfect family. But she forgot one thing. I was not just a husband. I was a soldier trained to detect threats. And I had just identified the enemy. You want me to what? Jax asked, tilting his head like he misheard. Just record him. One conversation. I need him on tape, I said, sliding a burner phone across the table. We sat in a corner booth at a quiet bar just off base. The kind of place where stories died in the walls and no one asked questions. Jax had been with me on 2 tours. He owed me his life. I had saved it once in Hellman. This was my favor in return. He trusts you? Jax asked. I nodded. We ran into each other at Lindsay's gym once. He thinks I am just her boring husband's buddy. I played it off. Told him I used to mess around too when my ex was out of town. Jax gave me a long look. Then smiled. Damn, you are colder than I remember. No, I said. I am just awake now. The next day, Jax showed up at Brent's gym, signed up for a mindset mastery package, and spent 2 sessions playing dumb. Brent never shut up. He bragged. He flexed. He flirted with gym moms in between reps, and on the 3rd session, he cracked wide open. Jax asked, ever mess with a client's wife? Brent laughed. Hell yeah. This one dude, military guy, gone all the time. No clue what's going on. His wife's wild. Uses his money to book hotels. Tells him she's doing Pilates. Damn, Jax said, acting impressed. What if he finds out? Brent grinned. He won't. He's a robot. Uptight. Boring. Probably salutes her at home. That was all I needed. Jax sent me the audio file. Clear. Crisp. Time-stamped. I played it 5 times that night. Not because I had doubts, but because I wanted to remember the exact tone of his laugh. It would make the silence at the party hit even harder. The Sunday before the party, we went to brunch like nothing was wrong. Lindsay wore a cream-colored dress. Her hair was curled. Her phone was on silent. She kissed me on the cheek before we walked into the restaurant. To anyone watching, we were the picture-perfect couple. No one could see the hard drive in my jacket pocket. No one could hear the wire in my shirt collar. She ordered avocado toast and complained about the weather. I sipped my coffee and watched her lips move. All lies. Even her eyes lied now. There used to be a spark, once. Now they were cold. Calculated. How are you feeling about next week? She asked, smiling. Excited, I replied. Everything is falling into place. She smiled wider. I just want people to see us happy, you know? Especially after all the stress this year. I nodded. She reached across the table, took my hand. I know I have been distant lately, she said softly. But I love you, Caleb. I really do. She said it so smoothly, so convincingly, I almost believed her. Almost. But I had seen her real truth. The videos. The diary. The backup plan. She did not love me. She loved the image of being loved. And that was the difference between us. I wanted a partner. She wanted an audience. The waitress came with the check. I paid in cash. We walked out together. I held her hand for the cameras watching from the sidewalk. Once inside the car, she leaned over to kiss me. I let her, because it was the last time she would ever lie to my face without consequences. I found Dana Whitaker through a tagged post Brent forgot to unhide. A wedding anniversary photo. 3 years old. Brent and a brunette woman standing in front of a wine vineyard in Oregon. Caption: 3 years down, forever to go. Funny. His forever had an expiration date. I traced the photo back to Dana's profile. Private. But her email was linked to her Etsy shop. So I reached out. Subject: your husband. My wife. Message: we need to talk. You are not the only one he has lied to. I expected silence. She replied in 30 minutes. We met in the back booth of a cafe 2 towns over. She wore a black coat. No makeup. Eyes already puffy like she knew. You have proof? She asked. I opened my folder. Showed her the messages. The hotel video. The gym texts. The burner phone screenshots. She did not cry. She just stared. And then said, he told me I was crazy for suspecting. He made me feel insane. You are not, I said. You were just married to a con artist. She looked up at me. So what now? We exposed them. Together. She blinked. You mean publicly? I mean permanently. She hesitated. You want revenge? No, I said. I want truth. Cold. Loud. And impossible to ignore. She leaned back. You are really going to do it? Yes. Then I am in, she said, pulling out her phone. And I have some messages he sent me that are going to make yours look polite. The alliance was sealed. And the tribunal was no longer mine alone. Dana and I met again 2 nights later. This time, in my garage. She parked down the block and walked up in a hoodie with the hood pulled tight. Her face looked different now. Not broken. Focused. Like a woman who had finally chosen rage over heartbreak. I brought the screenshots, she said, dropping a USB on my workbench. I have tea or whiskey, I said. Whiskey. Neat. We sat across from each other on opposite folding chairs. Like survivors of the same explosion, trying to make sense of the rubble. I spent years wondering why I was never enough, she said. Turns out, I was more than he ever deserved. I nodded. Same. There was a long silence. Then I asked the question that had been gnawing at me since this all began. How did we not see it sooner? Dana gave a bitter laugh. Because we are the good ones. We assume loyalty is the default setting. We do not check for fire until the house is already burning. She was right. We were not fools. We were faithful. And faithful people are slow to notice betrayal. Not because we are blind, because we are committed. I pulled up my laptop and opened the slideshow. Here's how it is going to go, I said, outlining the timeline. I will make the opening toast. Then I cue the video. Then I call up the live phone feed. Dana's eyes widened. Live. Real time, I said. She will think she is watching a birthday montage. She will not realize the laptop is synced to her own second phone. Dana leaned forward, impressed. You really planned this like a mission? No, I said quietly. I planned it like a trial. And the evidence speaks for itself. We were no longer strangers. We were co-counsel in a case called Karma versus the Unfaithful. And Judgment Day was coming. The closer we got to the party, the more Lindsay glowed. She posted daily updates on Instagram. Bouquets. Sneak peeks of the venue. Captioned with things like, when you are loved right, everything blooms. Her phone buzzed all day. Heart emojis. Comments like power couple goals, and you two are so inspiring. And every time I saw one, I felt the urge to scream. But I stayed silent. Because the louder the lie, the sweeter the truth when it finally breaks through. 3 days before the party, Brent showed up at our front door. I was in the garage when I heard the knock. Lindsay opened the door with the kind of giggle I had not heard since our honeymoon. Hey, stranger, she said. He pulled her into a hug right there on the porch. I walked into the front hallway slowly. Caleb, Lindsay called over her shoulder like it was a sitcom. Look who dropped by. I looked him dead in the eyes. Brent smiled. Too wide. Too confident. That smile that said you already lost. You just do not know it yet. Hey man, he said, sticking out his hand like we were buddies. I took it. Firm grip. No emotion. One soldier knows another threat by touch. Good to see you again, I said. You coming to the big birthday bash? Brent laughed. Would not miss it. Good, I said. Be sure to stick around till the end. The real fun starts late. He raised an eyebrow. What? Like an after-party? Something like that. He grinned, clueless. Lindsay laughed again, and I smiled right back. Because the enemy always smiles before the ambush. 47 confirmed guests. I knew exactly who they were, where they worked, what they thought of us. Some were Lindsay's clients, branding managers, wedding planners, fake nice influencers who had never faced a real storm in their lives. Some were our mutual friends, well-meaning couples who still thought Lindsay was a devoted wife, and I was the lucky one. And some were there for the fallout. They had seen the cracks, suspected the truth, and were now circling like vultures, waiting to see who dropped first. The final list included Lindsay's parents, conservative, still thinking their daughter was a saint, her best friend Casey, who once drunkenly told me, "You deserve someone who looks at you the way she looks at her phone." My old army buddy Jax, Dana Whitaker, and Brent, of course. The guest of dishonor. Every seat was intentional. I booked the main hall at Belridge Event House. High ceilings. Surround sound. Built-in AV system with 2 projectors. Lindsay thought it was for a romantic surprise montage. She had told her friends to get their phones ready. I double-checked the connections 3 times. Everything was wired. Projector to laptop. Laptop to phone. Audio synced. And in the back corner, a GoPro on a tripod, recording everything. It was not just revenge. It was evidence. Every fake laugh. Every lie revealed. Every mask slipping in front of an audience. I would not raise my voice. I would not throw a punch. I would simply press play and let their own words bury them. Because sometimes you do not need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes you just need to show the match. The party began at 6 p.m. sharp. Lindsay made her entrance 15 minutes later, draped in burgundy satin, diamonds in her ears, and that same smug aura she always wore when she thought the world was finally giving her the applause she deserved. The guests turned. Phones lifted. Flashbulbs popped. She smiled like royalty. I stood at the edge of the room in full dress blues, every pin polished, every seam razor sharp. My presence alone turned heads. She saw me, paused, then whispered to her friend, "He really went all out." As if this was for her. As if this was about love. "Babe," she said, walking over and kissing my cheek. "You look amazing." "You too," I said, eyes steady. "Ready for your moment?" "Born ready." She floated around the room like a starlet, posing, toasting, collecting compliments like currency. Brent arrived fashionably late, of course. Leather jacket, tight jeans, gold chain swinging. He greeted her with a hug that lasted too long, whispered something in her ear. She laughed. He glanced at me, gave a nod. I nodded back. The clock struck 7:45. The food had been served. The drinks were flowing. The lights dimmed. Lindsay turned to me, wine in hand. "Is it time?" I lifted my glass. "Let us begin." She tapped her fork to her champagne glass. "Everyone," she called. "My husband has a little surprise for you all. Something from the heart." People clapped. Phones lifted. She stood beside me, hand in mine, and I smiled. Not for her. For the justice that was about to detonate. The projector screen flickered to life. Soft music played. The first few slides rolled in. Our wedding photo, a shot of our son, an old video of us dancing on the patio under string lights. The guests melted. Us echoed. Lindsay leaned on my shoulder. But the next image froze her in place. A message bubble, blown up on screen. "Brent, We're the red one. You know which set I mean. Lindsay. Already packed, the music stopped. Silence hit the room like a slap. Lindsay straightened. What is that? Another image. A hotel room receipt. Timestamped during my deployment. Brent's name. Her card. Then a photo. Her in lingerie. Mirror selfie. The same red set. Gasps. One woman muttered, "Oh my God." Lindsay turned to me, pale. "Caleb, what is this?" "I am just showing the truth," I said calmly. The screen kept rolling. A clip of Brent in the gym, laughing. Dude has no idea. He is probably folding laundry while I am folding his wife. Laughter, then dead quiet. Brent stood frozen, mouth half open. Lindsay stepped forward. "Turn it off. This is not funny." "Is it not?" I said, stepping aside. "Because everyone else thought your costume was hilarious." She blinked. "Happy birthday," I said. "Time to unwrap the rest." I clicked again. Another message rolled onto the screen. "Lindsay. If he finds out, I will just cry and threaten custody." He folds fast. Murmurs started now. People shifting in chairs. Phone cameras still up, but now they were filming her. She spun toward me, eyes wet with panic. "Caleb, please. We can talk about this later. We are talking now. You are humiliating me." "No," I said. "You did that yourself. I am just turning up the lights." Lindsay turned to the crowd, attempting control. "This is all fake. He is editing things. He has always been paranoid." A voice cut her off. "Dana." From the back of the room, calm and clear. "I can confirm everything," she said, walking forward. All eyes snapped to her. "I am Brent's wife," she continued. "Soon-to-be ex-wife, thanks to these two. I brought proof too." She raised a folder. Opened it. Photos. Letters. Screenshots. She placed them on the center table like evidence in court. Lindsay's knees buckled. Brent tried to step in. "Okay, this has gone too far. Sit down," I said, eyes sharp. "You have already said enough." The room pulsed with tension. You could feel people trying not to breathe. I raised my glass. "To truth," I said. "To the kind of truth that no costume, no filter, no fake smile can hide." I turned to Lindsay one last time. "You wore my uniform like a joke. So I turned your birthday into your hearing. Welcome to your tribunal." She did not speak. She just stood there, alone, ashamed, completely exposed. And the room? It did not clap. It just stared. The room was a pressure cooker, silent, full of stares, some wide-eyed, others deliberately avoiding eye contact. No one moved, not even Brent. Lindsay stood in the middle, trembling. Her hand covered her mouth, like she could press the truth back in. I stepped away from the projector and let the footage speak for itself. Her friends, those curated Instagram besties, were already backing off. One slipped her phone into her purse. Another whispered. She said this was a romantic slideshow. Lindsay reached out to me. "Please, Caleb, let's go outside. Just us. We can fix this." "There is no we anymore." "But we have a son," she said. "You should have thought of that when you made a strategy about using him against me." I pointed to the screen where her text read, "If he takes me to court, I will destroy him emotionally. He is soft. He will not fight back." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I loved you," I said, "and all you saw was leverage." Her voice cracked. "You do not understand. I understand exactly who you are." Then I clicked the final slide. It was blank. Just one sentence written in bold white letters on black. "This is not a revenge story. This is a rescue mission from a life built on lies." I stepped down from the stage and left her standing there in her burgundy dress, mascara bleeding down her cheeks, in front of every person who once believed she was untouchable. The silence followed me out the door. But the feeling? Freedom. I was halfway to the parking lot when Dana caught up with me, heels clacking across the pavement. "Wait," she called. "There is something you need to see." She pulled out her phone and handed it to me. A folder open, dozens of screenshots, names, conversations, details. "What is this?" I asked. "Other men." You are not her first military husband. She did this before. I scrolled through. There was a man named Paul. Army. Divorced last year. Similar story. Deployment, silence, affair. Then Trevor. Navy. Lost his house in the split. Even a National Guard officer named Rico. Engaged. Ruined before the wedding ever happened. She looks for them on spouse forums, Dana explained. She finds guys with stable careers, emotional gaps, then inserts herself like she is the missing piece. Are you serious? I asked, while rising in my throat. I found her username. Same one she used to catfish people before Brent. She has a pattern. My mouth went dry. She said I was the boring one. I muttered. No, Dana said. You were her target. Suddenly, the last 5 years rewrote themselves in my mind. She never loved me. She hunted me. And now, I was done playing prey. I am going to make sure she never does this again, I said, voice like steel. Dana looked at me, eyes narrowed. Then I am with you. All the way. And in that moment, we were no longer survivors. We were witnesses. And we were ready to testify. Monday morning, the story hit social media like a gas leak meeting a spark. Someone had recorded the entire party. Dana suspected it was Casey, Lindsay's so-called best friend, and uploaded a clip to TikTok titled, "Cheating Wife Exposed at Her Own Birthday Party by Her Military Husband by Noon." It had 2.8 million views. By nightfall, it was at 7 million and counting. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag birthday tribunal, hashtag Carmen uniform, hashtag military justice, hashtag she mocked the wrong man. Lindsay's face was frozen on everyone's screens. Mid-reaction, mouth open, red eyes, makeup ruined. I did not post a thing. I did not comment. I did not share. I did not have to. The world did it for me. She tried to fight back, posted a long story about being ambushed, claiming I was emotionally abusive, trying to control the narrative. It flopped. The comments tore her apart. You mocked the uniform. You deserve the fallout. Imagine being that heartless to a man serving overseas. This is not controlling. This is called consequences. Brent, gone. Deleted everything. Business account shut down. Out of town indefinitely, his gym receptionist told reporters. Dana and I kept collecting messages from other victims. Men, women. Some had been cheated on. Others had been lied to. One even said Lindsay had sent them my photo years ago, claiming I was her ex with PTSD. It was deeper than I thought. It was predatory. I made one final call that night. To a reporter who covered military scams and stolen valor cases. I have a story, I told her. And receipts. She replied, send it all. Tonight. And I did. Because now it was not just about revenge. It was about justice. And the mission was not over yet. I did not sleep that night. Not from anxiety. Those days were gone. What kept me awake was something deeper. A quiet fire in my chest. Not rage. Not grief. Something cleaner. Purpose. At 3:17 a.m., I got a message request on my old Facebook account. Are you Caleb? I think my brother was also involved with your wife. I need to talk to you. Attached was a photo. Lindsay, 2 years ago, arm around a different man. On a beach. That made 6 confirmed affairs. 6 men she had strung along. Lied to. Used. I called Dana. She answered instantly. You get one too? She asked. Just did, I said. How many more are there? She exhaled. Too many. By noon, the reporter I had spoken to posted an investigative teaser. The Serial Wife. How one woman exploited love, loyalty, and the American uniform. In less than 2 hours, it hit local news. Then national. Talk shows picked it up. Commentators debated the morality of digital justice. Military family forums lit up. My inbox was flooded. Some said thank you. Some told their own stories. Some wanted to help expose more. And Lindsay? She disappeared offline. Deleted her Instagram. Shut down her business website. The woman who once lived for the spotlight had nowhere left to stand. And that was before the legal storm began. The reporter reached out again that evening. I want to use the footage, she said. The party, the speech. But I need your permission. You have it, I replied. She asked if I wanted my face blurred. No, that answer was easy. I had nothing to hide. The next day, the segment aired, edited like a short documentary. Headlines stamped over clips. He served. She betrayed. The internet responded. The footage showed it all. Me standing in my uniform. Her fake smile cracking. Brent's expression going slack. Dana stepping forward like a courtroom witness. The crowd frozen, the silence louder than any scream. Then, my line, raw and direct. You wore my uniform like a joke. So I turned your birthday into your hearing. That line spread like wildfire. People quoted it. Memes were made. Threads exploded. But none of it was about fame. Not for me. For me, that video was truth. A time capsule of a moment where I reclaimed my dignity. Not with anger, but with honesty. And the video did more than embarrass them. It protected the next target. Because now, when someone searched her name, they did not find filtered selfies or curated hashtags. They found facts, receipts, the truth. Dana was no longer silent. She had held back for too long, believing Brent's lies, covering for his business while he sunk her savings into luxury hotels and hush gifts for other women. But not anymore. She went live on a podcast the day after the segment aired. The host asked, "What made you finally come forward?" Dana did not flinch. "I stopped protecting a man who would never protect me. He made me feel small. Crazy. He used my trust like a weapon." Then she dropped the bomb. He used to coach his clients on how to manipulate their wives. Said things like, "Keep them insecure, and they stay." The host gasped. Dana continued, voice calm but sharp. "I gave him 10 years. He gave me lies, debt, and infidelity. And I am here because Caleb did something most people never do. He stood up in public and said, 'This is not okay.'" That clip went viral, too. People rallied around her. Comment sections turned into war zones. But for once, they were fighting for the right side. Even a veterans legal group reached out to me. "Do you want help filing charges?" they asked. "Not yet," I said. "Why not?" "Because I am not finished." Lindsay and Brent had not just crossed a line. They erased it, redrew it for their own comfort, trapped others inside it. But I was burning that new line to the ground. And the best part? They gave me all the matches. The court filing was not dramatic. It was clinical, clean. A stack of pages dropped into a manila folder by a clerk in a quiet hallway. Petitioner, Caleb Morrow responded. Lindsay Morrow subject. Divorce and custody petition exhibits. F. Exhibit A. Text messages. Exhibit B. Financial records of hotel stays booked during my deployments. Exhibit C. Video evidence. Exhibit D. Her backup plan, word for word. Exhibit E. Dana's affidavit. Exhibit F. A sworn witness statement from my son's elementary school teacher, reporting how he had described Mommy's friend Brent who sleeps over sometimes when Daddy's away. That one hit the hardest. I sat in my truck for 30 minutes after reading it, just breathing, staring out the windshield, trying to keep it together. This was never just about me. It was about what kind of world my son would grow up in, what kind of father he would become, what kind of man, and what example I would leave him when someone betrays you and expects you to crawl back anyway. So I did what needed to be done. I filed for full custody, clean split, no spousal support, no shared house, no shared bank accounts, no chance for her to pull the emotional card in court. And the judge? He granted the emergency motion to freeze all joint assets. Lindsay found out when her debit card got declined at a boutique wine store. She messaged me that night. "Lindsay, you are going too far. You are destroying everything." Me, "You already did that. I am just making sure you do not walk away from the ashes with a smile." 2 days later, Lindsay's parents showed up at my door. Unexpected, unannounced. Her mother looked tired. Her father looked like he had aged 10 years since the party. "We saw the video," her mother said, voice low. We did not know." I stepped aside, invited them in. I did not owe them that. But I did it for one reason, because they raised the woman who tried to ruin me, and now they needed to sit in that truth. I poured coffee, sat down across from them. I am not here to defend her, her father said. But I have questions. How long did you know? Long enough to gather the truth, I said. Short enough to let her damn herself in public. Her mother blinked away tears. And the boy, how is he? He is good, safe, happy, and he will never have to watch his father be disrespected in his own home again. They both nodded. Then her father did something I did not expect. He stood up, extended his hand, and said, I am sorry. I looked at it for a moment, then shook it. You raised her, I said quietly. But she chose this. They did not argue. They just left, walked down my front steps like two ghosts returning to a house they no longer believed in. I received a letter on official letterhead that week, Department of Military Conduct. An advisory committee had reviewed the incident after seeing the viral clip and media coverage. They requested a meeting, not to punish me, to recognize me. At first, I did not understand. But when I arrived, the officer, a colonel I had never met, shook my hand with both of his and said, You reminded the world what it means to wear that uniform, and what it means when someone mocks it. The room had a few other officers, one civilian rep, and a plaque on the table. They let me speak. I told them everything, not as a man scorned, but as a soldier forced to defend his home from within. They listened, silent, respectful. The colonel stood and addressed the room. Wearing the uniform is not just a matter of service. It is a symbol of sacrifice. When someone disrespects that, especially in the name of personal gain, it is not just betrayal. It is mockery of the highest order. Sergeant Morrow stood firm, and for that, he deserves recognition. They awarded me a service commendation, not for combat, but for moral integrity under personal warfare. I left the room in silence, holding the plaque in my hands, not because I needed validation, but because sometimes, when life tears your dignity to pieces, you rebuild it from the ground up, piece by piece, until it shines harder than it ever did before. Lindsay tried to stay quiet for a few days, but she could not help herself. It started with a cryptic post. Some people will twist anything to look like a hero. Real ones know the truth. No names, no tags, but we all knew. The comments roasted her. I stayed quiet until my attorney called. We are ready, he said. The paperwork is final. You can serve her whenever you want. I chose the most poetic timing possible. Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, just after her weekly yoga class with her friends. The server walked right into the smoothie bar and handed her the envelope while she sipped her green drink. A friend of hers texted me a photo later, her face pale, mouth hanging open, straw still in her hand. Inside the envelope was everything. The signed divorce petition custody claim exhibit index, a clean asset split that left her with exactly what she had earned. Nothing at the end of the letter? A simple line in my handwriting. I forgive you, but I will never protect you again. She messaged me later. Lindsay, you really want to end it like this? Me, no. You ended it like this. I am just signing the final page. She showed up at my house the next night. Uninvited. Hair tied back. No makeup. A hoodie that looked 2 sizes too big. Like she wanted to cosplay as remorse. I opened the door and leaned against the frame. She stood there in silence for a long beat. Then finally, can we talk? Talk or spin? Caleb, please, I let her in. Not because I needed closure. Because I wanted to watch her lie one more time and let her hear herself do it. She sat on the edge of the couch like she was afraid of touching anything. I made mistakes, she said, eyes low. I was lonely. You were always gone. I needed something to feel alive. You could have asked for help. I did not know how. No, you just did not want help. You wanted permission. Silence. You think I did this to hurt you? She asked. I think you did it because you believed I would never fight back. She blinked. Swallowed. I still love you, she whispered. No, I said, standing. You love control. You love the version of me that stayed quiet. But that man is gone. And the one standing in front of you now? He owes you nothing. Tears filled her eyes. Real or rehearsed, I no longer cared. I walked to the door, opened it. You should go. She stood, hesitated. Please, do not hate me. I looked her dead in the eyes. I do not hate you. I just see you now, and that is worse. Then I closed the door. And the chapter. If I had struck the first blow, Dana landed the knockout. 2 days after our final meeting, she filed a civil lawsuit against Brent. Fraud, emotional distress, misappropriation of marital assets. She had the paper trail. She had the contracts. She had the photos of him using her business funds to buy hotel suites, jewelry, and a gym lease that never opened. But the real kill shot? She subpoenaed Brent's mother. Turns out, he had told his family that Dana was unstable, that she had cheated, that he was the one being victimized. I found out he used me as his excuse, Dana told the press. I was not just betrayed. I was erased. So she erased his reputation in return. The court date drew attention fast. Reporters lined the courthouse. The same ones who had once posted pictures of Lindsay's lifestyle brand were now running headlines like The Brent Files, Coach, Con, and Compulsive Liar. The judge ruled in Dana's favor. Brent owed her 6 figures in damages and legal fees. He tried to appeal, failed, and just like that, his empire of lies, built on flirtations, flexing, and fraud, came crashing down in front of everyone. Dana called me that night. Think they will ever forget this? She asked. No, I said, and they should not. What now? We move forward. Pause. No more looking back. Only to remember what survival looks like. And that night, for the first time in months, I slept with no nightmares. Only clarity. The internet loved the takedown, until it did not. It started with a new thread on a gossip forum. Someone wrote, exposing a cheater is one thing, but turning it into a media campaign kind of feels exploitative now. Another followed. At what point does justice become vengeance? It spread fast. People who had cheered my silence now questioned my resolve. The same crowd that applauded the projector reveal now asked if it had gone too far. Lindsay's supporters crawled back from the woodwork, spinning new angles. He humiliated her in front of friends and family. She made mistakes, but he weaponized her past. She is the mother of his child. This is abuse. And just like that, the narrative started twisting. I expected it, prepared for it. Because the truth? People love the beginning of a fire, but not the aftermath. They forget what caused the flames. I stayed quiet. Dana did not. She went live again, this time on a military family podcast. And this time, she said everything. All those people asking if it was too much, they were never cheated on, never lied to for years, never had their kids involved in a lie someone else controlled. Her voice cracked, then steadied. Caleb did not go too far. He just refused to let her go untouched. That is what made people uncomfortable. He stood up and reminded everyone how many of us stayed down. That shut them up for a while. But I knew the cycle. The story was no longer mine. It belonged to the world now. But the truth still belonged to me. Lindsay went offline completely. No more stories. No more selfies. No comments. No engagement. Her business collapsed. Sponsors dropped her. Venues backed out of contracts. The influencers she once posted brunch pics with unfollowed. Publicly, the silence was loud. But I kept tabs. Quietly. For one reason only. Our son. One morning, my lawyer called. She filed a motion, he said. For what? Custody modification. She is claiming emotional sabotage. I laughed once hard. She used her child like a weapon in a Google document. I have that saved. I know, he said. We already filed the response. Still, I watched her that day. She parked across the street from the school pickup zone, windows up, just sitting there, staring. I stood on the sidewalk, holding my son's backpack. She never got out, just sat there. Eventually, she drove off. No message, no wave, nothing. That was the new Lindsay. No applause, no camera. just a quiet echo of who she used to pretend to be. She built herself on attention. Now stripped of it, she was no one. And that was a punishment no court could deliver. It was a letter, plain white envelope, no return address, postmarked from a city I had never been to. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed, "You need to know." She told Brent the child was his. 5 years ago. I overheard her. She never meant for you to find out. No signature. My stomach dropped. It could have been a lie. But I remembered one thing. Brent's old message. She says the boy looks more like me every year. I had thought it was just bravado. Now, it felt like a loaded truth. I called my lawyer. "I want a test," I said. 2 weeks later, I got the results. 0% match. Not mine. Not even close. I stared at the paper. Numb. My fingers felt cold. Everything shifted. My son, my boy, was not my biological child. But then something hit me harder. He was still my son. He was mine in every way that counted. Blood does not change late-night fevers, school projects, hugs on Christmas morning. Blood does not erase memories. Does not touch love. I folded the paper, locked it in a drawer, then picked him up from school like I had every other day. Because no matter how much Lindsay had taken from me, she could not take him. The court hearing was short. My lawyer walked in with a binder the size of a Bible. Lindsay came in late, dressed in gray, her face thin and makeup-free. The judge had seen everything already: media coverage, evidence, video footage. When he asked if Lindsay had anything to say, she stood slowly and whispered, "I just want to be a mother." That was her defense. But the court had already seen the plan she typed. Use the child as leverage. If needed, cry. Courts sympathize with tears. That line was underlined in red. The judge said nothing for a moment. Then, full legal and physical custody is awarded to Mr. Morrow. Ms. Morrow will be allowed supervised visits upon psychological evaluation. Lindsay did not argue. She just nodded once. Sat down. The gavel hit. That was it. I walked out holding the hand of a boy who would never know how close he came to being used as a pawn. And as we stepped into the light, I felt the weight finally start to lift. Not all of it, but enough to breathe again. The email came through a secured inbox I had not checked in weeks. Subject, recognition review pending, Army PR office. I opened it slowly. Inside was a formal statement. The Army's public relations team had reviewed my case, the viral videos, the press coverage, and the response from the military community. We acknowledge the emotional weight of your actions and the restraint with which you handled a volatile situation. While it does not fall under official conduct categories, we are preparing a commendation for ethical dignity under duress. I stared at the screen, blinking. A commendation for surviving a betrayal, for not losing control, for defending not with rage, but with truth. It felt strange. Part of me wanted to laugh. The same system that trained me to keep my emotions buried was now applauding me for choosing to show them at the right time. I forwarded the email to my old CO. He wrote back 2 words, "Damn proud." I shut my laptop and sat back in the chair. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like myself again. Not as a husband, not as a victim, but as a man. The ruling came through 2 weeks after the custody hearing. The house, our house, was legally awarded to me. Lindsay had no legal claim to the property anymore. She had 30 days to vacate. I watched from my truck as movers carried her life out in pieces, mirrors, decor, framed fake smiles. She stood on the porch barefoot, arguing on the phone. I did not need to hear the words to know the tone. It was the same voice she used when things slipped out of her control. That rising edge of panic dressed up as confidence. She glanced at me once. I did not wave. She looked away. Later that day, I walked back into the house alone. Every room was quieter, lighter, like the walls had finally exhaled. I took down the wedding photo in the hallway and replaced it with my Army units team shot. The real family, the ones who never lied. In the bedroom, I opened the closet. Empty now. No more perfumes I never recognized. No more mystery receipts in jacket pockets. No more second phone chargers hidden under the bed. It was mine again. Clean. Honest. And I would keep it that way. I got the call while mowing the lawn. Jax's voice buzzed through my phone's speaker. You see the news? No. What? Brent just got arrested. Fraud. Identity theft. 3 other women pressed charges. I stopped the mower. Pulled up the article on my phone. Personal trainer and online coach Brent Whitaker arrested in multi-state fraud investigation. Turns out, Dana had not just taken him to civil court. She had tipped off a financial crimes task force with everything he had done. False business licenses. Fake loan applications. Shell companies registered in other names, including hers. They had been watching him for months. He slipped once. He cashed a check tied to a defunct wellness company, and that was all they needed. He was booked without bail. Mugshot plastered online. Smiling, like he still believed he could win. I forwarded the link to Dana. She replied instantly. Told you we were not done. Brent had spent his life gaming the system. Now the system was folding back around him, hard. And I went back to mowing the lawn. Whistling. Lindsay tried to pivot. She reopened her Instagram under a new handle at Healing with Lindsay. Her bio read, just a woman rebuilding. No hate, just peace. She posted journal entries, sunset selfies, vague quotes about self-growth. But people remembered. The comments flooded in. Are you going to teach classes on betrayal? Peace begins when you admit what you did. You mocked your husband's service. There is no coming back from that. She turned off comments after a week, then deleted the account again. Her LinkedIn got flagged for false credentials. Her wedding brand lost every vendor partnership. The party that was supposed to boost her image had instead become the bonfire that burned her brand to ash. I never gloated. I never posted about it. Never messaged her. Never shared the stories. Because the truth was doing the work for me now. That is what karma looks like when it stops knocking and kicks the door straight off the hinges. It was 1:13 a.m. when my phone buzzed. A number I had memorized long ago, even after I deleted it. Lindsay. The message was short. Please, just talk to me. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the screen, letting the blue light soak into the silence of my room. I did not respond. Not because I was angry. Because I was done. There was nothing left to say. Everything I needed to say had already been said, with evidence, with truth, with action. Words could not stitch up what she had torn apart. She had already talked. To Brent. To her followers. To her backup plan. I had been the only one who stayed quiet. Until I chose not to. Now that I had spoken, the silence was hers to sit in. I powered down my phone. Let her message live in the dark. Unanswered. Returning to base felt different this time. Not because the gates looked new or the barracks had changed, but because I had. My reputation had followed me. I had expected awkward stares. Instead, I got nods, claps on the back, salutes that carried extra weight. Damn, Sarge, one of the young privates said as I passed the training yard. That whole thing, legendary. I gave a small smile. Was not about being a legend. Still, you did not fold. That matters. We ran drills that day, hit the field, cleaned gear. Same as always. But under it all, I felt lighter. Like I had laid down a weight I had carried for years without even realizing. I stayed late to file reports. The captain stopped by my desk. You did good, he said quietly. Not just out there. In life. You kept your head. Sometimes keeping it on is the hardest part, I replied. He nodded once and walked out. Sometimes, the best recognition does not come in the form of medals. Sometimes, it is in the way people look at you after you survive something that should have broken you and find that you are still standing. Weeks passed. Life moved on. One morning, a plain envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Handwritten. Inside, a letter. Lindsay's handwriting. I sat at the kitchen table and opened it, coffee going cold beside me. I know you will probably never read this. But if you do, I want to say I am sorry. Not for getting caught, but for becoming someone I do not even recognize anymore. She went on. Paragraphs about her loneliness, her vanity, her hunger for validation. None of it surprised me. But one line hit harder than the rest. The saddest part is, you were never the problem. You were the proof I did not deserve what I had. I folded the letter. Did not finish it. Because she was right. It was not mine to carry anymore. I slid the letter back into the envelope, tucked it into a box of old papers, and shoved it to the back of a drawer. It would stay there, unread, unneeded, unanswered. Healing is not cinematic. It does not come with music swells or fade-outs. It comes in small, quiet moments. Like when I made breakfast without thinking of her favorite mug, or when my son asked, "Can we paint my room whatever color I want?" And I said yes, without hesitating. Or when I stood in the garage and realized her boxes were gone, and I had no urge to look through them. I started therapy again, this time not to manage deployment triggers, but to sort through my own blind spots. The parts of me that ignored red flags because I wanted so badly to believe in peace. There were still hard days. Nights when I replayed the timeline. Mornings when the silence felt heavy. But they passed, and each one left me more steady than the last. I was not the same man anymore. And that was not a loss. That was a rebuild. Brick by honest brick. I moved. Not out of town, but out of the house. The one she once picked for its natural light and social energy. I never loved it. It felt like a showroom, something staged for her followers, not lived in. I sold it quietly. No fanfare. Just a signature and a key drop. I bought a smaller place, a 2-bedroom, blue-gray siding, tucked behind a row of old oak trees. Peaceful, private, real. The first night, my son helped me unpack boxes. "Can I choose the paint this time?" he asked. "You can choose everything," I said. We made frozen pizza and ate on the living room floor, boxes stacked around us like towers. "This is better," he said between bites. "It feels like us." He was right. No echoes of past lies. No ghost of her perfume in the air. Just space to breathe. I hung new photos. Not of her. Not even of me. Photos of my squad. My son's drawings. A framed quote I had seen once that stuck with me ever since. "You did not deserve what happened to you, but you do deserve what happens next." And that was the new rule. No more pretending. No more fixing things I did not break. Only building what I believed in. One honest wall at a time. It was a regular Saturday morning. Cartoons on low volume. Pancakes on the griddle. I flipped one, nearly dropped it, and muttered, "Well, that's not regulation standard." My son burst out laughing. Not a giggle. A full, belly-shaking laugh. I turned around, shocked. "What?" I asked, grinning. He kept laughing, hands covering his face. "You said it like a soldier again." I raised an eyebrow. "I am a soldier. But you're also just." "Dad," he said. That hit me. Harder than any insult Brent ever threw. Harder than any text Lindsay ever sent. Because it meant I had made it. I was not just surviving anymore. I was present. Free. He laughed again, louder now, still catching his breath. I could not help it. I laughed too. It was not forced. It was not to prove anything. It was real, and it filled the whole room. For the first time in years, the sound of my own laugh did not surprise me. It felt earned, like a medal you never expected, but finally understood. One afternoon, I found myself at a local hardware store. The guy behind the counter nodded toward my uniform shirt. "Army." "Yeah," I said. "Still active." He leaned in a little. "Hey, I saw your story. That whole birthday thing. Man, respect." I nodded. "Thank you. Must have been hard, keeping it together like that." It was, I admitted. But it was worth it. I left with 2 cans of wood stain, a roll of fencing wire, and a plan. At home, I started building a garden box with my son. He wanted tomatoes and strawberries. We laid the frame together in the dirt, hammering side by side. At one point he looked up and asked, "Do you think things are normal now?" I paused, then said, "No, I think they are better. Not perfect, not painless, but better. Because now, I had control over what stayed and what went. What I built and what I let rot. The past was no longer something I carried. It was something I had walked through and walked out of. Not broken, just rebuilt. Stronger, wiser, ready for what came next. He was not old enough to understand everything yet, but someday he would be. And I wanted him to hear the truth, not from the internet, not from gossip, but from me. So I wrote him a letter. My son, you came into my life when everything was quiet and simple. And you stayed, even when everything got loud and broken. You were the reason I held it together. You were the reason I never let the pain become poison. I told him the truth, gently, without bitterness. That the woman who gave birth to him made choices that hurt people. That not everything people post or say is real. That strength is not about fighting the loudest, but standing the calmest when everything around you is shaking. I ended it with this. You are not defined by how you entered this world. You are defined by what you do with the truth. And I will always be here to walk that truth with you. I sealed the letter, put it in a box with his baby blanket, a photo of us at the beach, and the medal I got for my final deployment. One day he will open it, and he will know who I was, who he is, and why I never let lies win. Summer came, and with it, stillness. No more hearings. No more phone calls from lawyers. No more second phones lighting up at midnight. I started running again, not to burn off anger, but because I could, because the road no longer reminded me of escape. It felt like freedom. One morning, I stood at the back fence, watching the garden we built, green vines twisting upward, tomatoes hanging like little trophies. My son ran barefoot through the yard, chasing something invisible. I smiled. Not every war leaves scars you can see. Some wounds live in silence. But that silence, it does not last forever. It turns into music, into breath, into peace. You just have to survive long enough to hear it. And now I had. Justice was never the end. It was just the doorway. What comes after? That is the real story. And maybe it is just beginning. Now let me ask you this. If someone took everything from you, your trust, your love, your peace, would you stay quiet? Or would you fight back your own way? Tell me in the comments. What would you have done in Caleb's place? And more importantly, where are you watching from? Drop your country or city below. Let us see how far this story has reached. If you felt this story, if you got chills, if you rooted for justice, hit that like button. Subscribe for more epic, raw, and unforgettable revenge stories just like this one. We are just getting started. See you in the next thriller. Until then, take care of yourself and protect your peace. Always.